Hello and welcome to Echoes of Elgin, Timeless Tales from the Elgin History Museum. I'm Rebecca Miller, Museum Educator at the Elgin History Museum, and your guide through Elgin's storied past. In each episode, we bring you captivating tales from our city's rich history, exploring the events, people, and places that have made Elgin what it is today. Whether you're a longtime resident, a history enthusiast, or just curious about local lore, this podcast is for you. This echo reaches us from September 9th, 2002, when former Mayor E.C. Mike Alft tells us about the life and times of Charles F. Shaw. The lives of some men and some women, although they aren't numbered among the movers and shakers of the community, are filled with memories of their days in Elgin. Often they aren't written down. Fortunately, Charles F. Shaw, 1851 to 1939, was interviewed by a reporter in 1937, shortly before his 86th birthday, and his recollections were published in the Courier News. He was an eyewitness to the growth of Elgin from a little mill town to an industrial city. His father, William F. Shaw, was a carpenter who arrived in Elgin 2 years after the founding by James T. Gifford. In a partnership with Charles Tibbles, he erected a hotel where the First Congregational Church now stands. About 1850, with the approach of the railroad, he accepted Gifford's offer of a deed to the site and built his city hotel on the northwest corner of Spring and Chicago streets. Charles Shaw was born in the hotel, the fifth of 8 children. His 3 older brothers served in the Civil War. At Shaw's City Hotel, guests who weren't able to pay their rent promptly were moved to the top floor until their debts were settled. This was to make the climb to the room easier for the cash customers, and it also made it more difficult for those on the top floor to remove baggage if they intended to skip. According to family tradition, Ulysses S. Grant, a tanner from Galena, was once a guest at the hotel. In 1854, when Charles was 3 years old, the hotel was the polling place for Elgin's first municipal election. Dr. Joseph Teft, who was elected mayor, lived across the street from the hotel in a farmhouse at the northeast corner. Charles Shaw attended the brick school at the northeast corner of DuPage and Chapel Streets. It was built by private subscription and opened in 1848. In a time of one-room schools, it was considered very large, with a principal and 2 assistants. That building was the site of a meeting in 1851 that levied the first local tax to support public schools. It became known as Old Brick in 1857, when another brick school on Kimball Street was built and referred to as New Brick. When Charles attended Old Brick, the city government operated the schools. As a boy, Charles witnessed the circus performances held in the public square, now called Gifford Park, and every spring he saw high water from the river cover the land on both sides of what is now South Grove Avenue and deposit a sea of mud. One of his first jobs as a young man was to work with a team surveying the route for the Chicago and Pacific, later the Milwaukee Road, Railroad from Elgin to Byron. During the big railroad strike of 1877, Illinois National Guard units were organized and Shaw was enlisted as a charter member of Company E, 3rd Regiment. He once knew where practically everybody in town lived and could remember when streetcars replaced the horse cars. Shaw entered the watch factory in 1874 when there were 600 employed. In the business depression that began in 1893, he was one of 1,400 laid off, about half of the labor force. He found a job in Chicago and returned to the big plant on National Street 10 years later, when almost 3,000 were on the payroll. The output then consisted of pocket watches. By the time he retired on a pension in 1928, there had been a shift in consumer preference to wristwatches. Someday in the year 2036, a man or woman who lived in Elgin in 1951 will perhaps record memories of high school days in the class of '69 at Elgin, Larkin, or St. Edward's High School, of the decline of the watch factory, of the building and expansion of the Civic Center, of the launching of the Grand Victoria, and of all those events we can't foresee today. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Elgin's history. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving a review wherever you listen. For more fascinating stories and updates, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or visit our website at www.elginhistory.org. Thank you for listening, and remember, history lives on in the echoes of Elgin.